Alright, so for this problem it says the terminal side of the angle theta in standard position passes through the point positive 1/2, comma 6/13. Calculate the values of the six trigonometric functions. So my x is equal to a positive 1/2. My y is equal to 6/13, which is positive as well. So remember that we're going to start here at the x-axis. That's the initial side. Now, x to the 1/2, I don't know where it is, but x is positive, y is positive, so it's going to live somewhere in the first quadrant, right? And you don't have to draw it to scale, just draw some right triangle. And then what I like to do is I like to label the points. So I've got 1/2, comma, 6/13. Now remember that the x is the adjacent, so I'm going to put my 1/2 here, and then over here, this is 6/13. Now here's the not so fun part, is that I need to find the radius r. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit over here and scroll down, and I'm going to do that real quick. Remember that the equation of a circle is x squared, I should say the Pythagorean relationship is that x squared plus y squared equals r squared. This is not fun at all. We're going to say 1/2 squared plus 6/13 squared equals r squared. That's okay, we're smart, we could do it. So what's 1/2 squared? Well, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. I'm almost done. What's 6/13 squared? What's 6 squared?
36.
36. What's 13 squared?
169.
169. Now what's not going to be fun about this is the combining the fractions. So the next step, and I'm going to move this over to the side here, I'm going to have to add 1/4 plus 36 over 169 and try to figure out what that is and take the square root, right? In other words, I'm going to have to take the square root at the end. So I know for a fact 4 is not going to go into 169, and because 169 is a prime number squared. So the most that I could hope for is 13 times 4. But that won't take me up to, we're going to have to basically cross multiply the denominators, which is not bad. So I'm going to say 169 over 169. And then over here, I'm going to have to multiply by 4. And multiply by 4. And I'm going to pull out my handy-dandy calculator and say 169 times 4. That's 676. So this one over here, in other words, I'm going to have something over 676 plus something over 676. And that's going to equal my r squared. Alright, well this is 169 over here. And I think 36 times 4 is 144, but we'll double check. 36 times, wait, is it times 4? Yeah. All right, 144. So this is 144. And my voice cracked a little bit. So then 144 plus 269, let's add those bad boys up. 144 plus 169 equals 313. Ooh, I think that is not a fun number. So then this whole thing becomes 313 over 76 equals r squared. So then I got to think of a way that I can reduce that. But first I got to take the square root of it. So I could rewrite this as the square root of 313 all over the square root of 676. Now I doubt it, but I'm going to try it and see. I'm going to see if 313, if you could take the square root of 313. Let me clear this out. So I'm going to hit the second x squared button, then type in 313. Woo, not so lucky there. But I'm going to try this again with 676, because I think 676 might be a legitimate one. Yeah, 26. So I'm going to have to reduce this 313 thing. So what I do know, though, this is equal to r, and on the bottom I've got 26. So now we've got to simplify this 313. So now this is a tedious process, but it's effective. So I say 313 divided by, what's 2 squared? 4, right? Oh, but I hit the wrong number. So we're going to say 313 divided by 2 raised to the 2. No. 313 divided by 3 raised to the 2, which is 9. And so I keep going. 313 divided by 16. That doesn't work. 313 divided by, now I know it's not 25, which is 5 squared. Let's try 7 squared. 7 squared. That's not it. 313 divided by, let's try 8 squared, which I don't think will work, but we'll try it. That one's going to be a tough one. Let's try 313 divided by 9 squared, which is 81. It's not 10 squared. Let's try 11 squared. Well, that's a tough one. Maybe it's 13 squared. Let's try 313 divided by 13 squared. Man, that's a tough one. I don't think we can reduce the 313. So oops, hello. So let's just leave it as the square root of 13 over 26. I don't think you can reduce it. Well, that's not fun. So now let's try sine of theta, which we know is y over r. Well, what's the value of y? Y is 6 over 13. I'm going to zoom in here. All over r, which we said was the square root of 313, and I've got to remember that I wasn't able to reduce that. Right, so it's 313 over 26. So I'm going to say the square root of 313 over 26. Remember that that's the same as 6 over 13 times the reciprocal of this, which is going to be 26 over the square root of 313. 13 goes into 13 one time, 13 goes into 26 two times, 2 times 6 is 12, all over the square root of 313. I can't leave 313 in the denominator, so I rationalize the denominator by multiplying root 313 on the top and bottom. This becomes 12 root 313 all over root 3, or just 313. And that, believe it or not, is the right answer. Okay? That's a tough one because, and what I thought, and let me kind of give you the rationale of what I was thinking. So when I realized, so 13 squared is 169, and that's almost half, or pretty close to half, of 313. So once you reach the halfway mark, you're not going to find something that goes into 313. You're past the halfway mark. All the factors are way past it. So I was like, well, maybe it's just not, you can't reduce that square root. But I went through the process of dividing it by all the squares, and when you're dividing it by the halfway mark, then it's like, no, it's not, you can't simplify it. Okay. So now that I know that, though, the rest of these are pretty easy. So cosine is what? Yeah, cosine is x over r. X is 1/2 all over r, which is root 313 over 26. That's the same as 1/2 times the reciprocal, which is 26 over square root of 313. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 26 divided by 2 is 13. When I multiply that straight across, 1 times 13 is 13. 1 times the square root of 313 is still 3 square root of 313. Can't leave it like that, so I rationalize the denominator. And I get 13 root 313 all over 313. So that's that answer. And then tangent, it's going to be y over x. So that's just going to be 6 over 13. over 1/2, which is really 6 over 13 multiplied by the reciprocal, 2 over 1. So that's just 12 over 13. Now the rest of these are just the reciprocals. So if I say cosecant of theta, that's the reciprocal of sine. So here's a little trick. The reciprocal of sine, before we do the rationalizing, is this one right here, 12 over the square root of 13. So I just need to flip that around and say the square root of 313 over 12. And then for the next one, I'm going to do secant, which is the reciprocal of cosine. And then that's this 13, this one right here. So that just becomes the square root of 313 over 13. And then cotangent is just going to be the reciprocal of this. Cotangent of theta is equal to 13 over 12. So that one is a little hard, but now you're smarter because of it. You're welcome. Look at my hair. I think I need to get a haircut. It's getting kind of long. Okay. Any questions?